Greetings to you, good people. This is Father Rock O'Connor, the good people there at Our Lady of Good Hope, St. Bernadette, and St. Catherine of Alexandria. Here I want to do an introduction to Chapter 1. And basically what Chapter 1 does is invite you to consider one primary way of looking at this whole book and at the process of spiritual growth. And then a bunch of ways of looking at how we look at ourselves. So the first one is really foundational. It's the whole picture that Dante Alighieri, I believe it how you say it in Italian, provided in the Divine Comedy. It's his story, it's his great medieval poem about his experience of encountering himself as lost midway through life's journey and proceeding with a guide, Virgil, the greatest poet of all time, to guide Dante through hell, to the depths of hell, into purgatory, and then to paradise. This book, I believe, can be a beginning of that journey, which I believe is the Christian journey. So Dante's poem is not only a great poem, it's really good theology. I want to read just a section of it for you, please. Middlemost through this life's journey, I wandered from the straight path and awoke to find myself lost and forsaken in a forest somber. How shall I tell its true terror? I never saw so grim, so noxious, so unyielding a wilderness. Its harsh memory denotes fear itself. Death scarce more bitter a pill than that realm. Amazing, good emerged from therein. I will tell all God's grace that did teach me there. I remember not how I found my way, restless, anxious, and discontent I had become when I realized I had lost the one path. And with that, he begins his story about feeling lost, and he finds himself at the door of hell. And Dante, his divine guide, leads him on that journey. It's a journey of self-discovery, of self-finding, and in that finding the mercy of God at work as he had to confront even his worst to come to purgation in purgatory and toward the divine vision in paradise. So that's the overall thing. It's a good journey. Thinking going to hell. Well, going through our own personal hell is what this is about. And meeting the mystery of our own woundedness. And meeting the grace of purification so as to embrace even more fully the dear grace of God. So here are a bunch of images that I think are important for you and I to consider as we just think about meeting ourselves. And the first one has to do with the log in the eye. From Luke, from Matthew, why do you see the speck in your neighbor's eye and do not notice the log in your own eye? How can you say to your neighbor, friend, let me take that speck out of your eye, when you yourself do not see the log in your own eye? And isn't that the story? I am blind because of this log in my eye. What I see when I look at you are my faults, my hurts. This is the grid through which I perceive the world. And we don't think about that as much because we're blind to the dang log. We're blind to the hurt in my life that I see you through. And I'm blind to the log that I use to club you with. It's hard to see. It's hard to become sighted about that. But that's an important consideration. The second thing is The story of the dang elephant. There are six persons who are blind who can't see. They go up to the elephant. You know the story. One who grabs the tail says, "Ah, this elephant's like a rope." The one who grabs his leg says it's a trunk. It's like a tree. The side, oh, he's like a blimp. He's like this big thing. So on. And because they have six different approaches to it, they can't see each other's approach, nor can they see the whole thing. Now, I think that's a common enough story that folks know. What I want to say about that is I am not a relativist. I do believe there is absolute truth. But like the elephant, we look at it from different angles. Plato, the great philosopher, called it the paradox of the one and the many. There is a oneness, there is a unity, and there are many facets to it. One of the comments I put is, Christians have one Bible. And at the same time, in the United States, there are more than 23,000 different Christian churches, not buildings, not parishes, 23,000 different churches that look at the Bible more or less differently. How do we get to that? Except by saying it's the one and the many. The third image is that of the ink blot, Rorschach test. The psychologist puts an ink blot up and you say, oh, it looks like a bat, or it looks like two elephants dancing, or whatever. That in my encounter with reality, what I tell you about reality, what I speak to you about my reality, tells me more about and tells you more about my reality than it does reality in itself. How's that for a proposal? That the other side of that is, in as much as I can read my own interpretation of reality, I get to learn a whole lot about myself. And as you get to learn yours, you can share that. The fourth image is what I call the drama zone. We look at the world through my world. I look at the world through my world. I'm on a stage. I'm the director, the actor. I set up the props, I set the scene, I do all that stuff, and it's part of the way I construct the world. I play out different scripts there. These things make me happy. I play out a happy script. These things make me angry. When I watch cable news, these things about the president or the former president make me angry. That's my drama zone. That's where I get to play out and believe it as absolute truth. My own little drama. And it's not your drama, I'm playing out my drama. So these first four fit together nicely. What I want to do is, there's a story I really want to tell about a gentleman who came and talked to me after Mass one day, not that long ago, 5-10 years. And he was talking about his son, who was a teenager, and said, my son's just driving me nuts, and I don't know what to do with him. And he does this, and he does that, and he does this other thing. And I was listening to him, and I said, is he a lot like you? And his head just drooped, and he began to tear up, and he said, my son's exactly like me, and I'm ashamed of what my father told me what I was supposed to do. He wanted me to apply myself in school, and I didn't. And I'm ashamed of that. And my son, I want him to apply himself in school, and he's not doing that. And I said, perhaps you're taking out your shame and the pain in your life and the disgruntlement you feel with yourself, the discontent. Maybe you're taking it out on the kid. And he just said, yeah, maybe I am. So I talked about prayer and a way to pray with that. But that realization of what's in here that's difficult is what I put on others, on you, on anybody else. Okay, so that's the story. The fifth image is really just a question. What's the difference between guilt and shame? And a lot of people make distinctions between this. I make one. It fits with some and it doesn't fit with others. So you all get a read about that. I'm going to move on to this next one. The hamster wheel. Over almost 40 years now of hearing confessions, one of the groups of people that I find challenging to deal with are perfectionists. They come in and say, I'm not doing this right. I'm doing this thing. I'm doing this wrong. I'm doing this wrong. And then they say, I need to try harder. I need to do more of this. I need to pray more. I need to go to Mass more often. I need to do this. And really what they've done is confessed and then given their own pastoral advice. They've given themselves their own pastoral advice. And that pastoral advice tends to be try harder, do more, do it faster, do it this, and get to be perfect. Yesterday. It's a huge, difficult burden and an impossible burden that perfectionists put on themselves. Part of the deal is it creates its own resistance, resenting all defects. So I see all these things that are wrong with me, and I resent that. And by resenting that, I drive myself to correct deficiencies here and everywhere else. You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. I resent my failure to control my failings. And so I become more impatient with myself. And impatience is wrong, so I got to try even harder. And that's the bind that I find a lot of folks are in. And I want to talk about that as a blindness that we have. And for some, it's a grid through which we see reality. Last one is the comfort zone. It's like the man cave, right? I want a place where I can go. No one's going to bother me. I can sit there with my buddies and watch sports, old reruns of NCIS, which I love. I could watch and just be secure, well defended, cozy, secure, and opaque to others. I could be safe and secure from all that is outside there. Back in the day, we used to talk about that as putting up walls, but it's the walls for the sake of comfort. Paradox. By putting up the walls to everything out there, I'm still insecure in myself within here. So what I'm basically asking folks to look at is, what are the terms by which we look at ourselves when we consider learning about ourselves, knowing ourselves? And then, eventually, what are the terms by which I judge others? There's a whole bunch of questions at the end of the chapter that I think will be helpful. But this, I just wanted to give a basic overview of where this is going, because in following out the studies I do in the Gospel of Mark and about Bartimaeus, I hope to, in a helpful way, provoke some of that grid to appear by you saying, well, I don't like that very much, or, well, that makes sense to me, by noticing to which I'm attracted and that to which I push away. So, boy, there's a mouthful. I hope you're still with me after chapter 1, and wish you a very happy journey on this as we're coming up right to beginning Lent soon. Happy day. God bless. Bye.